Blog Talk Radio.
Hey guys, this is Those Guys with your host, Matt Marrero, along with your other host,
Tristan Walter.
Yeah, it's you again. Look at this.
Whee!
So you're taking time off work, destroying androids, just, hanging out here, doing podcasts more often?
We don't talk about androids.
Right, I'm sorry, I forgot about that. You got the aversion, I'm sorry. You've been through so much, I'm so sorry.
Okay, as long as we have that understanding.
Right, yes, no, I understand, yes.
And
right.
yes,
but,
my job is lovely.
No, taking some time off, clearly, you save the world that much. Clearly, look at this. We've been doing, for any of you listening in the archives, me saying this is meaningless to you because I'm sure, hopefully, you're marathoning these movies, you're marathoning our podcasts, and it's great, right? But from our perspective, live, there was a big gap from Dragon Ball Movie 1 that we did, to Dragon Ball Movie 2. And then all of a sudden, the next week, I just text Tristan, hey, so you want to do Dragon Ball Movie 3? And here we are. I want to say something to you, right? So, and I find this really funny. You were mentioning, and I think I mentioned this last podcast as well, for the second movie, Sleeping Princess in Devil's Castle, right? You were saying, hey, when I think of demons, I think of, mystical, and I think of this, I think of that. Well, clearly they looked at you 30 years later, and they thought, man, let's give Tristan what he wants for the third movie. And they gave us a movie called Mystical Adventure. It's in the fucking title, Tristan. So are you pleased with this mystical adventure?
Well, when you put it that way, other than, a certain lovable psychic that we all know being an emperor and having an empire wasn't really all that mystical.
Yes. No, actually, it's kind of funny. I agree. What's funny is I think maybe, I don't know, for some reason the original Japanese version, which is, the name is, it's not that far off. It's just The Great Mystical Adventure. For some reason, I feel like The Great Mystical Adventure has a nicer ring to it than Mystical Adventure. I don't know why. It's just, it's the great one. Although at the same time, it might be like, this was not a great mystical adventure. So I don't know. If maybe they took that away in the title because they didn't want there to be any kind of misconceptions. Where it's just, I don't know, I thought it was an average mystical adventure. I thought it was subpar, So it's just mystical adventure.
I do want to make one point though. That doesn't mean I didn't like the movie.
Yeah, no. All jokes aside, yeah, the idea that Tristan was trying to make, which is completely legitimate, by the way, it's a great movie. Just the title is not absolutely, it's not relevant exactly, because, and it's really funny too because the titles were pretty relevant. The last one was so fucking self-explanatory. Sleeping Princess in Devil's Castle. It's pretty fucking self-explanatory.
Yeah, it was pretty spot on.
Yeah, pretty much. And so, of course, you're like, yeah, so that's the movie. All right, cool. But then all of a sudden, this one is just like mystical adventure. And before I saw the movie, because strangely enough, I actually never saw this movie until watching it now to podcast about it. Because, just some background for the fans, you and I both grew up on DBZ in America. So for us, we grew up with it, but we somehow didn't catch the Dragon Ball dubs. The Harmony Gold stuff was definitely before our time. But even then, we didn't catch the Funimation movie, dub of the first Dragon Ball film. It just didn't pop up on our radar. So I don't know about you, I know about you, but I don't know when you got to see it. But I've mentioned before on air that I got to see Dragon Ball Z, on Toonami, flipping channels, getting away from scary Goosebumps episode. Right? It was a Goosebumps episode. Yeah. It was scary, man. I'm sorry. Not Goosebumps. What am I doing? Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Afraid of the Dark. Yeah.
Yeah, I mentioned this to you 1,000 times, right? Are You Afraid of the Dark? And it was a clown one. And I was like, not today. I already saw it. But I was like, not today. So I flip it over, and Goku and Vegeta are just hovering in midair. And I'm like, that's different. Because I had seen no anime. I know. I had seen no anime at the time, maybe Pokemon, maybe. But even then, it's like, okay, monsters and a guy catching them, whatever. But no one's flying.
Yeah.
No one's throwing energy beams at each other. So my version of cartoons to that point were most likely Rugrats.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, these guys are flying or hovering, and I'm like, that is not what is supposed to happen. But I will stay. So that's kind of how I got into, Dragon Ball Z. So that means that, of course, in America, you and I grew up on Z before we got the chance to look at Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
Also, you and I were a bit too young to get into the Viz comic books at the time. Now, I say comic books, strangely enough, because not a readaptation, just at the time, which is funny because my dad did get me some Dragon Ball Z Viz comics at the time. Sadly, I don't know where they are. They're probably destroyed, and I feel sad about it. But, again, I say the word comic because at the time they had the practice of flipping the comics.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
so it wasn't necessarily manga. They flipped it, and then they printed them as comic books, like you would get any single issue of any comic book today, American-made. That that style was used for manga. So they would, but the problem, of course, the reason why they don't do that anymore is because it wasn't made with the author's, consent in a way that'd be like, oh yeah, so redraw what's on their shirts, right? So May would become Yam. Or if someone were like, oh, Bulma, it's just like, AmLab. So of course that's a problem. So they stopped doing that. But still, so we weren't old enough to really get into those either necessarily. So we were in that weird age range. Both of us being 22, we were in that weird age range where it's just like, all right, so, we're not able to kind of know what's going on in the background other than what's being provided to us on television. So for us, it's like, great, Dragon Ball Z, that's where it started. And it's like, no, this Dragon Ball exists. And we're like, what? But again, even when Dragon Ball came out, we're still too young to try and push our parents. I mean, we can push them a bit, which is why I did get some Dragon Ball Z films back in the day, both original, and then my dad, he actually got me VCD fan subbed, which was a very fun experience. I still have those. A very interesting experience. But anyway, I might transcribe them actually, because I don't want to post them for obvious copyright reasons, but I might transcribe them for the lulz. And I didn't use that word out loud a lot, because for obvious reasons, but it was really, really funny. I got to be honest with you. But anyway, but the point is that, we can push for that a bit, but I don't think we were able to push that hard to get the Dragon Ball movies. Hell, we didn't even know the Dragon Ball movies existed. I remember seeing Dragon Ball Z movies, even when I stopped watching the Z movies on Toonami because I had the fan subs, they still kept on pumping out those Z movies on Toonami. But I do not remember a Dragon Ball movie on Toonami.
I don't remember one either. It might have not been until later. Yeah.
Past the Power, I believe, but not the first three.
None
I do
of the
not remember
others,
the first three. Yeah, because Past the Power sounds familiar. Like, I remember, I feel like I can hear Peter Cullen just saying, Dragon Ball, Past the Power. Like, I can see that.
Yeah, because that's the fourth movie, right?
Yes, the one that we will be doing next. So anyway, all right. So that's the thing. So for you and I, we just weren't accustomed, we didn't get to see the movies. So now looking back with the knowledge that we know about Dragon Ball Z and everything, and just generally, we mentioned on the show before how they made movies back then, right? And they have not, for the most part in the present day, they have not made an anime movie that, to me anyway, as far as I know, anyone has any new information that I don't know about, hey, message us. Those guys on the radio.tumblr.com. Those guys on the radio at gmail.com. Right? But as far as I know, we don't have a lot of mashups like this, in the sense that when it's a movie, it's a brand new adventure to enjoy. It's not, hey, let's repeat this episode, or hey, let's mash up these story plot points. I feel like it's a rarity nowadays. Like the last time I remember it happening in recent memory, the Death Note movies, not the live action, the anime movies. If you remember, they actually mashed up the full two halves, 2 parts of Death Note into 2 anime films.
Right.
Yeah, that's the farthest. That's the closest that I remember, the most recent memory. And I'm like, yeah, that happened. Other than that, doesn't really happen, because that was more of a hey. So if you missed this on TV, here it is again. Right. But
yeah. Although
right.
with this one,
this one, you know what I liked about this one though? It tried to take that idea of, hey, let's mash up the stuff that's going on at the time, and but again, they didn't make a new story, which some might think it's lazy, but I think it's actually quite creative with what they did. With all the players they had.
Holy crap! Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, no, because they could have made a new story. They could have made a new emperor. They could have not made it Chaozu. They could have totally done that, and I think it would have worked. But it made somewhat sense in a weird way.
Yeah. Well, because that was
a weird
Chaozu's whole backstory. Well, was apparently that he was an emperor, but he came to train with, Master Shen, and they never went into that. So I thought it was really charming to actually see, oh shit, they actually made Chaozu an emperor.
Yes, I thought they were. What's really funny is I thought they were actually going to connect it in a way where it's like, oh, and then it spans off into this. But no, they were just like, actually, fuck your expectations.
Yeah, pretty much.
We're going to completely twist this into a brand new tale with all of these different plots that you can't think connect. That's what I like.
Yeah.
They made it connect the dots with things that you'd sit there and be like, no, they can't possibly connect those.
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do. And I don't know. I didn't find it to be lazy at all. Like, I think some people, I haven't heard it to say that, but I can understand why someone might be like, oh, no, it's lazy because they didn't introduce anyone new. Yeah, but they didn't just make the same exact story.
Yeah, honestly, I think with what they did with this one, it took more effort.
Yeah, in a weird way.
Yeah, in a weird way, exactly.
Because it's like, look, they had all the design set up, minus clothes, because the clothes were, for a lot of people, were new, right? Or at least for a decent amount of people were new. But minus the clothes, it was the same character design. So I get that. Oh, we don't have to design anyone new. But it's the stories. It's crafting that story and trying to make everyone fit. And in some ways, in my opinion, not having it work, in my opinion. As much as I loved all of the characters, I do think that a bit of it here and there didn't really mesh together well. But it's so interesting just to see it mesh and to see how it was like, okay, take this concept of, let's say, the Red Ribbon Army. So they're still going to be there, but they're not exactly the Red Ribbon Army.
Right.
You know, let's merge it more with the people that are working with Chaozu. Oh, we can't make Chaozu evil. No, of course not. He's just aloof, as always. It was like, that makes sense.
Yeah, they just kept him in the dark.
Which makes so much sense, because I sat there and I was like, wait, so Chaozu's evil? Because he's fucking working with Tao Pai Pai.
Yeah.
I'm like, but all of a sudden it's just like, oh no, Chaozu is just being Chaozu.
Well, I mean,
that's...
Technically in the series, I mean, more so Tien, Chaozu was kind of along for the ride, but Chaozu was training to be an assassin too, so it's not like his hands were completely clean.
But he was still aloof, and I mean, it's one of those things where it's like he was training to be an assassin, fair enough, but it's weird where, like, he was, to be fair. Like, we have to be completely fair. But there was just some innocence about him, where it's just, you remember the World Tournament stuff, where it's just, concentration can stop me from moving. They realized to throw math because Chaozu has to count on his fingers. So it's
he loses concentration.
Yeah. So he's just like, I got you. And Krillin's like, what's 3 + 2? Krillin punches him in the face.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where even if you want to say, like, I don't know, like I think you and I might sit there sometimes and we're just like, yeah, we want to be super cool secret spies. And everyone's like, oh, so they want to go around killing people. But of course we can't. Of course we can't be spies.
Yeah, of course. What would give you that idea?
I'm undercover. Fuck, should not have said that on the radio. All right, that's why I'm not a spy, everybody.
And that's why I don't say shit like that on the radio, so I don't blow my cover. Shit.
Ha-ha. Well, we're both going to be assassinated by the time this show is over. Yeah, that's going to be great. Happy to hear it. Maybe next time we'll be ghosts. That'll be an interesting podcast. So anyway, right, talking about this movie. So we talked about this movie a little bit, just kind of key points here and there, but usually we talk about it in order, right? Before we do that, we always like to give a little bit of backstory, kind of to get you guys, thinking about the movie itself, behind the scenes, really cool stuff, or stuff that I think is cool, right? So one thing I want to mention, this movie came out, let's see right over here. This movie came out, it was July 9th, 1988. So really close to where we are right now. So, well, of course, before we were born, right? But it was really funny because we did this. Remember that game we were playing where it was like, it was with the Dragon Ball Z shows that we did first, where it's just like, hey, we weren't born. Hey, we weren't born. We were born, but we were this. And it just starts getting more, like, where it's the point where
closer and closer.
Yeah, closer and closer. I think Fukatsu no F will be hilarious. Where it's just, hey, just to give you guys some background,
We're
this came
still
out
watching
now.
This series.
Yes, Dragon Ball Super. This came out now. Well, happy that we clarified that for everyone. But but anyway, seriously. So all right. So we have this movie came out July 9th, 1988. Apparently, in the box office, it made 650 million yen. So the Dragon Ball machine was running at that time, folks. And in a way, it still never really died. I mean, even Evolution, I know we shouldn't talk about Evolution for obvious reasons, but even Evolution, we all sit back and thought, well, this killed it. It's dead. No matter what anyone says, it's dead. But no. New anime on the rise, new movies coming out. I want to say new video games if that's a thing. No, there were always new video games. That was just there. That's been a staple for years. No matter what you try to do, video games for Dragon Ball Z will always be around until after we're dead. I'm sorry. When you and I will die, and games will still be around. I don't know who the hell will be voicing them over, but the games will still be around.
I mean, new games is kind of up to your interpretation, but yeah.
Right. But they'll be out. But anyway, so the movie came out in 1988. It was actually, when it came out in theaters, it was part of the Toei Manga Matsuri, as always, right? And it was a quadruple feature with the second Bikuriman movie, which I'm actually not familiar with the Bikuriman series, sadly. It was with the movie of Tatakai Ramen Man, which was Fight Ramen Man. And if you're thinking, Satish, oh no.
It's happening.
Oh no. We made it. I think I made a joke on or off air that you and Satish are the same person. I forgot if I told you that joke. Have I ever told you that joke, Tristan?
I'm pretty sure you have.
All right. So I'm just going to call you Satish because you're probably the same person anyway, and you're just trying to pull the wool over my eyes.
That's horribly offensive, Matt.
Okay.
See, you don't know which one. You don't know which one it is though, because both of us would have said that. I hate both of you, or all of you, or just you, whichever explanation works. No, but seriously. Okay. What's really funny is here's why I said Satisha. All jokes aside. Another one of our co-hosts, by the way, if anyone doesn't listen to our WWE Monday Night Raw podcast or most of our wrestling stuff, I called you because usually I'm the one who has to explain anime to Satish. Right.
So it's just like, hey, Satish, let me tell you about anime. So yes, but in all seriousness, Tatakai Ramen Man. If you know, if Ramen Man maybe strikes you as a name you've heard before, that's because it's from the Ultimate Muscle / Kinnikuman series. And it's which aired in America on Foxbox.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah, I don't think I ever really watched it, but I definitely heard of it. I had friends who watched it.
I was one of them.
Were you?
It was I hope so. I mean, I know I watched it, so I hope I was the other one. It was that was a spin-off. Tatakai Ramen Man, Fight Ramen Man was a spin-off of the original Kinnikuman series from the 70s. So they turned into a spin-off, which was, as I said, Tatakai Ramen Man. And also the second Kamen Rider Black movie, which was a pretty good movie as far as I remember. Because I've seen it myself. Not in 1988, but I've seen the movie myself. I believe it was a good film. I don't know if I'm confusing it with the first one. But either way, watch Kamen Rider Black, I think is my point. Really good series. Really interesting series. So those were the movies. For anyone who goes, wow, that was the lineup. Yep, that was the lineup in 1988. That's
Pretty
your trip
decent
back
lineup.
to the past, everyone. Yeah. And then the movie in America was released in plenty of different ways. As always, Harmony Gold USA dubbed it over at one point, and they had it as a double feature with Curse of the Blood Rubies. And it aired in Philly. Like, seriously, it aired as a double feature, both of them, on a TV channel in Philly. And it says it might have been released for home video. Either way, the idea is that it was not, like, no, it's not sitting there like everyone just knew about it. Like, oh, yeah, of course, that dub. Like, it really wasn't pushed that heavily, apparently. Yeah. They exist. The dub exists, but it was not, it did not exist. What we do know is that, of course, as always, they edited stuff out and they changed the names of, the characters. But strangely, right? So they edited out scenes, right? They changed names of the characters. Yet somehow the script was more faithful than Funimation's version. Now, I'm not knocking Funimation at all, but, right? I guess it's the idea that line by line, they were more faithful.
Oh, I see.
It's just, yeah. Because as much as I love Funimation, they do, okay, any dubbing company has to change up lines in a certain way, one way or another, because of, voice, mouth flaps, and also, some lines, you may have to give them a certain kind of flavor in the sense that, what would this character say, let's say?
Yeah.
Rather than just saying, no matter what, we're just going to have one voice for everyone. Because that's not true. That's not how, any language works. Right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, Funimation does go in there and usually write brand new scripts. Not trying to stray away from what's going on in the show itself, because in no way do they want to say that, X moment didn't happen or anything. But, I mean, there are some lines added in, some for comedic effect that I mentioned earlier, that I will be mentioning later that I wrote in my notes, that we both saw in the movie. That you can tell, hey, that line doesn't, that line definitely wasn't in the Japanese version.
Right.
Which I'm sure you noticed it here and there. But anyway, so Funimation was able to dub this in 2000, and they actually released it on VHS and DVD, so that was nice. And then later on, when they released it, on DVD again, and most of those, like double, triple packs or whatever, they were able to restore some audio and video glitches, and they actually got it out. So you can go buy it now, and you'll get the complete, Japanese score, Japanese music, and everything. Because originally it was their own in-house music, as it was back in the day. But it was put to some Japanese music, and you can tell, you and I both saw the one with Japanese music, and it was straight from the series. You could tell.
Yeah.
Like, it's the same music they use in the series, but we've mentioned in our Bleach shows how fun that can be.
Yeah.
When you get to hear that piece, and you're like, I know that piece.
Right.
Yeah. But, so anyway, so before we move on and get into the, little bits here and there, we won't rate the movie just yet, either 1 to 10 or, our whole, 1 to 10 A-B system, whatever it may be this time around. But, yeah, right, we switched from every single time. How did you feel about this film overall? Like, what were your thoughts?
I mean, once I got over
everything,
the shock factor of just the multitude of characters that they had to that they threw into this movie. I mean,
it may as well have been a video game, right?
Yeah, Jesus, the character roster was like ridiculous. It's like I feel like if they had taken like maybe just half the cameos that came in this movie and put it into, Sleeping Princess, I think it would have evened them out, a little better and that kind of thing.
Too many. Right, too many.
A little bit, it gets
what you're
overwhelming at a point.
So what you're saying is you wanted parts of the demon army just to be filled with red ribbon guys. So it's just demon, General Blue, demon.
Okay, no, I wouldn't say that, but
I know. But but I get that completely. I understand there were a lot of characters. And like I said earlier, I think some of the cameos did not fit as much as I loved them. But anyway, anything else before we jump into any other thoughts before we get into everything?
I mean, I think that's probably why the title is as vague as it is, because I don't think they could actually, choose something to latch on to and say, yes, this is what the movie is about. Wait, no, it's not. It's about this. No, wait, maybe it's about this. That one? Fuck it, mystical adventure.
Yeah, exactly. Just World Martial Arts Tournament with Chaozu being the king, featuring Errol Norimaki.
Yeah.
Like, just the movie. You know, I don't know. It seems like it's a pretty windy title. I don't know. It's just, I think that's long-winded there. I don't. But so okay. Speaking of, we start off immediately, right? We start off the movie immediately with one of those very interesting cameos, because we start off the movie with Pilaf.
Yeah.
That's different. You know, that's just, I mean, first off, at first I thought, oh, so we're doing a Pilaf thing? Because Pilaf was a lot earlier in the series. So I'm like, wait, what are we doing here? And then Pilaf is reporting into Shen and Taio Pai Pai, which really is blowing me up here. I'm like, what's going on here? Because, you know, I understand the idea of, hey, let's, you know, again, combine some things, have some things flow. I mean, we saw the first and second movie, and they did that pretty well. I'm not saying we were huge fans of it, but they did do that, where it's like, hey, so here's what's going on in the show. You get, you know, the show, the part that you guys remember, and then and the new story. Here's your new story, right?
Yeah.
This was just, hey, here you are, here are you two working together. That never happened. It is now. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. I think once, like you said, like I think it's the idea that we have to sit here and accept it. Because at first I didn't understand how to accept it, right?
Yeah.
Once we got to that bar scene, it was like, all right, I accept this.
Right.
Or, you know, the general, like, eating, you know, the restaurant scene. I was like, all right, I'm on this journey. I'm on this mystical adventure.
I'm good with
I feel
this.
like that's their way. I feel like that's their way of calling it, like, a ride. Where it's like, you guys are going for a ride here. You're going for a real mystical adventure.
I mean, I'll go with that. It took me for a ride, yeah.
It took you for a whole mystical adventure there. So yeah, okay. So I don't know if you noticed, there were some voice actors that were different than the ones used in the show, at least in Dragon Ball. And it's interesting because not everyone was different. But you look at Pilaf, right, and they use one of Funimation's regulars. So it's not like they took someone like, you know, that's different to us as a, you know, as someone who's watched Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. However, the one that they always use in Dragon Ball, the redub, was Chuck Tuber, if I'm correct, who has been Hiei in Yu Yu Hakusho, as well as Android 17 in Dragon Ball Z.
Right.
However, they did not use Huber this time. I don't know why. However, they did use, let us find out, they did not use Huber for some strange reason, but they did use, where are you? I'll find you. Oh, by the way, little fun thing. Goku was renamed Zero in the Harmony dub. We've mentioned this before, but I really want that to stick out. Goku was renamed Zero.
Animu enough for you?
Yeah. Yeah, right. Yes. Okay. So I was right. Mike McFarlane, who is the voice of Master Roshi,
was used for Pilaf.
Yes. So of course it's an in-house regular that we know. It's not like it's someone different, but it clearly is not, you know, Chuck, because we know him. Like we just hear that voice and we're like, yeah, that's him.
Yeah, yeah.
It's pretty obvious. You know, but sadly it was. I mean, hell, he also did Garlic Jr., of course.
Right.
Right. So we know. So it was not him, and a few others were changed. Taio Pai Pai was the same, which is great. I love Taio Pai Pai's voice.
Yeah.
Like I'm a huge fan. I'm a huge fan of his voice actor, and because he's been in a lot of Funimation stuff that I'm, like I mentioned, a huge fan of. So happy he was in this. But yeah. So how did you feel about this? Like them combining these three together. It sort of makes sense, and it gives Pilaf that backstory that we've been looking for, but it's not canon. So
yeah,
it's one of those things you can sit there too. Yeah,
I feel like it works along with the series in the sense that Pilaf kind of lost his castle and everything, so it feels like Pilaf, after that first time he gathers the Dragon Balls, is just trying to like reclaim assets at this point. So he's doing like odd jobs for all these other like larger criminals, and it's just like when he appears, it's just like, oh, you still kicking around, Pilaf, huh? Yeah, you making that money back? Good for you.
No, I understand that. That's funny, but yeah, I get that. It's just like, hey, you're not a king anymore, are you?
Yeah.
No, you're not.
I mean, I just find it funny that, like, because I mean, the first time I saw him in the series when he was palling around with, King Piccolo, it was just like, really, Pilaf? You doing this, huh?
Yeah.
I'm like, you have no idea what you're going into, do you?
He's become such a huge threat. I mean, look at him in Battle of Gods, and look at him in GT. The man is clearly someone you cannot mess with.
Oh God. I think he's probably the one. He's probably the only villain who was messed with more than Garlic Jr. For God's sake.
Yeah. But oh God. All right. So by the way, for Tao Pai Pai, right? The voice actor being Kent Williams, who's also the voice of Dr. Giro.
Yes.
So, yes. Again, I'm really it's funny because I guess it's because I've grown up with them, but I am a huge fan of Funimation's voice cast.
Yeah.
I'm huge fans of them, and it's always very interesting how they get Sean Schimmel. I always pronounce his name wrong, even when you correct me.
I don't know which one's correct either, but we get the point.
When they it's the idea that even though Mr. Goku, right? Mr. Goku himself, one of the 80,000 that has voiced Goku in America. Mr. Goku himself, I'm not kidding. Mr. Goku himself left for 4 kids and is still there, but they still get him to be Goku, and it's great. It makes me happy. It's like no matter what, he's there to be Goku, and it's a good feeling.
Yeah, although he doesn't do Kid Goku. That's a different voice.
No, of course not. No, of course.
Yeah.
Which is funny because I guess we should make that known because in Japan, it happens. But no, of course he wasn't Kid Goku. Kid Goku being the same voice from the last 2, but different than what we see in
what we're
the actual Dragon Ball
accustomed
series.
to. Yeah.
Yeah, what we're accustomed to. Yes. Okay. So anyway, speaking of this movie, right? So moving forward, I do enjoy the reimagining. I really do. I mean, seeing General Blue part of the actual, their Chaozu's guard thing and not the Red Ribbon Army was weird, but I liked his new costume.
Yeah,
right?
No, the costumes were amazing. Like, I had that same shock. I was like, why is General Blue here? And then, of course,
because
they just give you the
look.
they give you the 5 seconds of him using his eye power, and I was just like, okay.
Yes, because he looked just like General Blue, but he had the same. It's one of those things where he looked just like General Blue, but I wouldn't be surprised at the time for them to reuse a character's design as someone completely different. Right. I wouldn't put it past them. So anyone really at the time, any animation company at the time to do that. So that's what I thought was happening, and then it's just like, oh no, it really is him because Tao Pai Pai calls him Blue, and I'm like, oh, it's like, oh. That is you. Well, okay.
Honestly, that like little skirmish between the two of them, that was actually really cool. I did enjoy that. I mean,
yes, that got me.
Aside
from got me in
the whole tongue thing, but I mean,
that's always fun to me because it's one of those things where it's just he's a deadly assassin. That's his way of killing people, but it works because it's to the temple.
Yeah.
But it works.
I feel like Tao just goes for like the shock factor. It's just like, really? You couldn't have just, you could have killed him a million different ways. No, you had to use your frickin' tongue.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, now you're just showing off.
Yeah, right. But that got me into the movie, right? That little fight got me into it. And also, by the way, a weird thing that I noticed, and I don't know if you noticed this too, if you put all 3 movies together, right, like literally you watch them in one sitting, minus the climaxes for each movie, obviously, each one has an end to it, still, it feels like they flow together very well.
Yeah.
Like, because of where they picked in the series, it feels like it's like, hey, first movie, oh yeah, so we're all new to this. Second movie, oh yeah, I know you, Master Roshi. Here you are, right?
Yeah.
Third movie, oh yeah, so we've trained with Master Roshi. Now we're going to a tournament. It just flowed very well in the weirdest way because it's like you shouldn't work this well.
It was
like the
funny.
only other movies.
Yeah, I actually watched, like, I just recently watched this movie too, but I was actually watching it with a friend of mine, and he's been recently watching the Dragon Ball series too, and the version of the movie that I watched the first time through, because I went back and I rewatched it with the actual opening with Pilaf and everything. At first,
Right.
the opening scene for me was just Roshi with his eyes wide open, and he's like, I can't believe they actually moved it. And it's Roshi training Goku and Krillin just before he's going to tell them, hey, it's tournament time.
Question. The voices, though, the voices and the character names were the same? They were Goku and they were...
Yeah. Everything else was pretty much the same.
Oh, okay. No, because I was curious because obviously, as I mentioned, the Harmony Gold version took out the Pilaf stuff, and it even took out the ending credits. With so it replaced them with different credits, right? So I thought you saw that version, but clearly you just saw some version that did cut that out anyway for some odd reason. But it was the actual Funimation dub. But for some reason it cut that out. So anyway,
and it was weird because
my friend
my friend had just seen that episode in the anime where Roshi was training them and saying, "Okay, we're going to the tournament." So he's like, "Oh yeah, I get this," because he was asking me like, "Oh, is this going to spoil anything for me?" I'm like, "Nah, not really. I mean, maybe a little bit here and there, but it's not going to be anything too huge." And then it just goes into the rest of it, and I'm like, "Oh God!" And he looks at me and he's like, so I shouldn't follow this as any measure of canon. And I'm like, oh, dear God, no. He's like, you don't even know what's going on. And I'm like, yeah, I've seen this series, and I don't even know what's fucking going on.
I think that's what's perfect about it, is that it's someone... I'm trying to stifle laughter a bit, at least I was, because the idea of, so is this going to spoil anything? And it's just, now that you know what's going to happen, not at all.
Nope.
Not at all. You're going to see some new characters, but at the same time, not at all.
Yeah.
Right? Just not happening one fucking bit. So, yeah. But I really enjoyed how they just flowed very well together in the weirdest of ways. And in this movie, because it's the last one, technically, like I know we had Path to Power, but in this line of, in these lines of films, the idea of, oh yeah, let's use this and this and this, and not really reanimate.
Yeah.
I mean, they animated new stuff, of course, but I mean, you know what I mean. The idea of, let's just make a either completely new story or we'll do this. No, it's like, oh, let's craft this with some of the stuff from the show that we can and then kind of mix it together. Instead of just, let's say, reanimating everything from scratch, because Path to Power was about a bit later. It was not in the 80s. So, So anyway, it just felt like a nice trilogy in a weird way, where this felt like the culmination of all of that in a weird way. I'm not saying this is the this is the greatest thing of all time, or this is the greatest Dragon Ball movie out of the three. Though I may say it's the greatest Dragon Ball movie out of the three, at least, because it felt like it was like, hey, so you went through the first one, right? That was good. You went through the second one. Not all second ones are great, right? But the third one, boo! Like somehow it breaks that. Even though the movies like this don't necessarily have that sense of, oh, the third one's always bad, because you can have 20 of them, right?
Right.
But it still was like, hey, the third one, that's pretty good, isn't it? And I sat there and it really felt like this was a good Dragon Ball movie. I'm sorry, a great Dragon Ball movie, because the other ones weren't terrible, but this was a great Dragon Ball movie.
Right.
The only thing that threw me off when I was watching was they mentioned Chaozu, and I knew Chaozu was a king, so I really should have put it together as in like, oh, they're mentioning him as the king, because you had Bulma go, oh, that's Chaozu's thing. We're fine. And I'm like, you don't know Chaozu yet. You met him at the tournament.
Yeah.
So, they haven't met Chaozu. They just know of him because he's the king.
Yeah, because as soon as I saw Chaozu and Tien, I was like, whoa, we're just skipping, hopping, and jumping around, huh?
Basically, yeah. No, it was completely that. It was just completely let's just cherry pick everything and make a story that some people will enjoy and others will hate completely. No, that was their goal. Either you're going to enjoy this or you're going to hate it.
Yeah. I mean, it was funny, like, before the comment, like, Bulma sees its Chaozu sub, when they're getting shot at in the air, it's like the whole scene where she's, shooting down those other fighters, it was just like, right, this was the point where Bulma being a pilot was actually, an amazing thing. It's like, I just made this joke to my friend. I was like, since when did Bulma become rogue leader? Holy shit.
Yeah, there was a point when Bulma meant something. And it's not even a Bulma knock. It's just a general knock on a lot of the characters who, over the years, it's become, we have to fight against this person, this one single entity. And it's just like, hey, if you're not up to the task, you're going to get destroyed immediately.
Yeah.
Right? Now, we've had some exceptions, but generally it's been that rule of, hey, if you're going up against person, this being, not even a person anymore, just a being,
right,
you better be Super Saiyan or higher.
I mean, Bulma pretty much stays the, technical support throughout the series, so
yes,
she still keeps that.
They usually,
but
like fighting-wise,
need
technical support. They usually don't need technical support. Like if the Dragon Radar, okay, right? Think about it like this, right? Oh, hey, so they have used term like, let's say, Cell, Saga and things like that, but still, usually it's just, hey, so I fixed the Dragon Radar. Bulma, we don't need the Dragon Radar right now. We actually need to fight like a super being that will destroy the Earth. Do you have any armor for that? Well,
actually, I do. Okay, let's see it. Give me a few days.
We need to do this in the next hour.
Shit.
We thank you for your support. But, it's just, I can create a time machine, so I'll create it, and then I'll keep on going back a day.
Oh, God.
Actually, Bulma, that's brilliant. Thank you. Thank you for your valiant effort. How great would that be? All of a sudden, Goku blinks. It's done. Bulma, how long did it take you to do this? What do you mean? You're 90. She creates the armor.
Just laughing to herself quietly in the future.
Mind you, it creates the armor. Like, she created the armor, right? And the armor, it's perfect.
Yeah.
It does the job. But she aged about 50 years.
Oh, God.
No, sorry, 70. She aged about 70 years. So, anyway. So, apparently, they know Chaozu is a king, but not as, like, as a friend or anything. And which was a weird disconnect, I think. Because it was nice to see Chaozu and Tien having, their friendship to the max going on over there. But they, it was weird to not have that connection to, the Z fighters. Or technically, that's funny, they're not even Dragon Ball Z yet. The DB fighters. Like, right? Like, what do you call them?
Yeah.
You can't call them the Z fighters yet, man. They're the DB fighters.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I said it before, I thought it was really charming to actually see Chaozu as, that's a thing. He was supposed to be an emperor. It's like, well, here we go.
Oh, yes. No, that's nice. It was just weird that they didn't really connect with the rest of the group-ish. Like, it was sort of there, but it really...
Yeah,
like, they didn't really...
I mean,
I think
you could argue it
movie,
didn't really...
What?
It didn't really come into play until, like, later on when Roshi kind of gives Tien a shortened version of the speech that he gives him in the actual series.
True. One thing I think it's, you mentioned this, the idea that, it was kind of, it would be cool if they cut out some of the cameos. And I know you weren't really bringing it up because of time, but I would kind of even say that this movie could have gotten about an hour or an hour 20. And I think no one would have complained.
I don't think so, no.
I mean, yes, you wanted to make it small because you're going to put it in the quadruple feature and you're going to, have it be that nice, appropriate 40-ish minute length.
Yeah.
Right? But I do feel like this, would have definitely benefited from that extra time. Because it did not feel hollow necessarily. But some moments I feel had to happen just because they had to happen.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, this has to happen no matter what, and then it did.
Right.
Yeah.
Although, I find it hysterical that the whole reason, like, they're looking for the Dragon Balls, or supposed to be, it's like to find Chaozu's wife. It was funny, because I looked at it, I'm like, oh, well, yeah, he's an emperor at this point. Like, of course he's going to have the, quote-unquote wife, even though he is, whatever age, he's incredibly young. Because my friend looked over to me and be like, how? And I'm like, dude, he's an emperor. Of course he's going to have wives, quote unquote. But
yes, yeah, but I know it was a strange situation, I think.
And
it was
then of course
interesting.
Shen turns around and, true to form, he's still a dick. It's like, nope, I'm going to use him to take over your kingdom. Big spoiler there.
I love it. Chaozu, so where's my wife? Like
you're not getting one. What? Yes, taking over your kingdom. I mean, how was that not apparent? I mean, Blue even called it before he died.
So we're trading a kingdom for a wife. There's no trade. I'm taking over your kingdom.
Oh.
You know what's really funny? I want to mention this right now, even though, I want to get back to it in somewhat of an order, but I want to mention this because it pops up and it makes me laugh a lot. Like, I will use the Dragon Balls to take over your kingdom. They all agree with me. Like, Tien, sir, do you need the Dragon Balls to do that if everyone's on your side already?
Yeah, I mean,
he's
pretty much got all the armed guards and everything. All he had to do was just execute Chaozu, and that would have been the end of it.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting because I would say, I guess maybe it calls into play that strange sense of loyalty, where it's like, I will overthrow you, but it would be detrimental to my reign to start it off with a coup.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, because all the guards couldn't even look Chaozu in the eye. I mean, Tien couldn't even look Chaozu in the eye and be like, yes, we're taking over. They're like, we're being forced to. But it's still technically, because a lot of the guards probably were being coerced into doing it by Tao Pai Pai. But
it's still interesting. Because technically, again, the idea that it's like, I guess if Tao Pai Pai, if they tried to kill Chaozu, the guards would have to defend. That's who, I guess. Technically, they have to defend because, again, it's that weird sense of honor where it's just, hey, if he makes himself king, which we're totally cool with, if he makes himself king, then we will worship him, right?
Yeah.
But if he does not make himself the king, the emperor, we cannot do that. We have to follow this emperor. It's a weird sense of, morals, even though it's like, it feels two-faced, I think, to us, right? Because in a weird way, it's like, just do it, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
that might also be a cultural difference, too.
That's what I'm saying. It's definitely a cultural difference, definitely a sign of respect, but a weird sign of respect, of course, because, again, someone like you and I, it's like, I think I would respect the honesty more. Like, I feel like if someone said that to you, you'd sit back and you'd say, bring it. If I die, this is how I died. Bring it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Versus, wait, so you made this really convoluted plan? You could also wish for immortality. Like, if you wish for immortality and then attacked me, regardless of how you take the throne, no one can kill you.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what's really funny. Like, I understand they maybe wanted to break away from the immortality thing because everybody wants immortality, right? Everybody. But it's really funny how it's just, I want a kingdom. You can take a kingdom with the right amount of people behind you.
Yeah.
But you
that
can't.
That would have been hysterical. It would have been hysterical if, like, Pilaf had, like, might I suggest, immortality? Although,
right,
he wasn't. Was he going for immortality? I think he just wanted to rule the world.
True. He might have wanted to rule it forever, but still.
Yeah.
But it's just hilarious. It's hilarious how it's just like, Shen just goes, I will wish to become the king. He's like, I'm so happy. Well, I'm a little short of breath. My heart.
Oh, geez.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
You just see...
flops and dies.
Yeah.
Tao Pai Pai's like, that is interesting. I guess I am now the king. Please do not eat any of the food he just ate. No one touched the food he just ate. I said it too. No one touched the food.
Yeah, exactly.
No one touched that. No one touched that lovely
his hand from, Shen's back.
Like some mice try to eat the food, they die. Oh, that must be a strange coincidence. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Right? It's like, that guy, should we investigate that? Like, I guess I will be the king.
They immediately
anyway.
fall down dead, too. No, you shall not investigate anything.
Anything.
Although,
all right,
I find it funny, like, just for, Tao's character in general, I get the feeling he wouldn't want to be, like, in the ruling position. I feel like he just enjoys being the mercenary, because then he gets to kill who and when and wherever he fucking pleases.
Yeah, no, all jokes aside, I don't think he wants a position of power, because technically that position of power limits him because of what people can see. He is a man who enjoys being in the shadows, even if you have to stand next to the man in power, so he's there. It's the idea of, oh, who's that guy? Oh, it's just some bodyguard. And then that's all he enjoys being thought of. Even though, well, I will admit, to be fair, later on in the series, even though it's through filler, he is shown to enjoy fame, somewhat.
Yeah.
To enjoy being the number one assassin or whatever. But I do feel like he would not like to be a king, because as a king, it's the idea of, oh, go kill that guy. He'd be like, no, I'm getting off the throne so that I can kill him.
Yeah, that I can do it.
I am my own. I am my own assassin as a king.
Yeah.
It's like the king can't do that. Yeah, so I think that would be why maybe he wouldn't want it more so. Okay, so this movie had one of those cringeworthy Roshi segments that we always talk about, where he's just a complete perv. And I know his character's a perv, but the movies and anything that's non-canon likes, in my opinion, to go even farther, just that one up. But of course, as always, Launch made everything better. Just immediately, just sneezes, turns into evil Launch, and as if she didn't even want to, she's like, I suddenly have the urge to hijack this plane. And I'm like, you could not do it. We would prefer you don't.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, that line was pretty golden.
Yeah. And then also, right, so in my head, it's like, they're going to the tournament that everyone goes to at Chaozu's house.
Yeah, that I lost it too. I'm like, why is it here? Wait, what?
It makes sense, because you see, that's why I think I enjoyed some of this movie, where they made changes that made sense to try and keep it in a central location.
Right.
So it's like, of course, it's going to be at Chaozu's house. Also, you can't have a tournament-style bracket. So, of course, it's going to be – it's stupid in real life, I think, to have a first-come, first-serve, because it's like eventually the freshest guy is going to win. Or girl, right? Or just person in general, right? The freshest person to get into
humanoid.
that ring.
I mean,
humanoid, right?
Dragon Ball.
Yeah. Right, yes, right? The freshest being, right, considering the fact that we'll also have, tiger people and stuff like that. The freshest being to step into that ring, also aliens, being to step into that ring, will be probably the winner, which is so weird to say, because it's the idea of it's just, oh, man, this one person is knocking down, one being is knocking down hundreds and hundreds of others.
Yeah.
The one that comes in to punch him in the groin or something. Oh, man, look at that. The winner is this one. It's like that other guy knocked out hundreds of people. Yeah. Are we not going to look at that as some kind of, that guy does not deserve a reward? Yeah. Like, just because someone doesn't go unopposed does not mean that, and I don't know. It's just a weird situation for me. Where I know technically it was one-on-one battles, but still, it's weird in real life. Right, but as a storyline thing, I get it and it's smart.
Yeah.
Right, but we're not there just yet. We're By the way, the prize being anything you want was weird. That too, where it's just like what's the prize, Master Roshi? Well, it's a plot device. Anything the plot desires. Oh, that's really cool. That's how it sounds, right? Just anything the plot desires.
And Goku's reaction to that makes that even better. He's like, but I don't want anything. Krillin's just like, shut up, bonehead. It's like, it's the plot.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. But
Roshi
also,
just
by the
looks
way,
over to Krillin like, dude, make him stop. We need this to go forward.
Yes, basically. Bulma's spybot was hilarious, because I just sat there and I'm like, so Bulma invented the drone.
Yeah. I mean,
like the ones that we use
I could
today.
see it.
Yes, but it's just funny. Like, we see drones today. It's like, oh, yeah, drone this, drone that. And it's like, Bulma invented them. They're right there, guys. They're right there.
Yeah. I mean, I just laugh because, of all people, to have a spy bot, I didn't really think Bulma would be one, too. Because then she immediately turns over and says, oh, Oolong, you'll help, right? And he's like, hell no. I'll let you spy on the volleyball tournament. I'm in. It's like, yep, that's what I thought.
It was a weird plot device. It was a weird plot thing to give Bulma, like a weird storyline thing. But it felt okay because there's no, okay, yes, if you have perverse intentions, something can become perverse, right? But it's not like she said the women's locker room.
No.
Because then I'm like, Bulma, that's basically selling out your gender. Like that's selling out.
She kind of did anyway, but
no. She sold out. But a volleyball game can be. I mean, of course, it was a women's volleyball game because that's what Yamcha and Oolong would have wanted to see. But it could have been a men's volleyball game. Hell, it would have been hilarious if it was because it'd be like, damn it, Bulma, you lied. Did not lie. You said volleyball.
Exactly. And
right?
I mean, who's to say Bulma wouldn't be watching the guys' volleyball tournament either? Because to be honest, she was just as bad as Yamcha was. That's why they were perfect
back
for each
in the
other.
day. Oh yes, most definitely. But anyway, so she made a drone, right? And I feel like she's a female Iron Man. She feels Tony Stark, and the idea that I feel like she'll just make a lot of things, and she might not use them, but then all of a sudden, when the need arises, it will exist. Yeah. Right? So this did not need to be used in daily life, I feel, unless it was maybe for like a police thing. Right? It did not need, because if we remember, I think she did supply tech for the police force.
Probably,
or at least the company did. No, because I think the company did, because I remember, I heard something like that when, supplying stuff for the police, because I remember when Goku first met a policeman, it was something like that. I believe something like that was mentioned. From Bulma.
I think it was something about the hovercraft he was using. He's like, oh, that's Capsule Corp. And he's like, they give us everything.
There we go, yes. So anyway, what really got me into this movie, I think, that really kind of drew me in, was the fight in the bar or the restaurant kind of thing. That really got me in, because I was like, all right, that won me over. Because, yes, I'll admit it, it's a clusterfuck. This whole movie's a clusterfuck. But it's such an entertaining mix and match of everything.
Yeah.
Also, something nice to see. We always knew that Tien and Chaozu had a really close bond, but it was really nice to see that even in this universe, even in this different reality, it's still there, and it's greater than ever. I mean, yes, there was some slight betrayal, but it's but again, but the idea was you said no harm would come of him.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
that's what means something. The idea of you said that Chaozu was not going to be hurt. You were you lied, because in no way did Tien want. Yeah, because in no way did Tien want to hurt him.
No. Yeah,
no,
I mean, he
not
couldn't do it.
No, he couldn't. So So all right. By the way, we mentioned there were some lines that were clearly not there. In the original. The line "free T-shirts" in the lobby.
Yeah.
You know that line?
Yeah.
Free chili dogs and nachos, compliments of the Emperor. And I was like, and I looked, and I was like, that's not in the Japanese. It was funny. It was hilarious, mind you. It's like, that's not in the Japanese. Also, something nice. As we're just going through this, my notes here, just Roshi helping the Native American character, who I don't believe we were told his name in the film. I have his name here. Yeah,
Bora.
Wikipedia.
Yeah.
His name was Bora?
Yes.
Oh, yes. His name was Bora. Yes. I just didn't hear it enough. I heard
Yeah,
Ufa.
no, I think they only actually said it once in the movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but he's a character that we all know of. And I was really happy. Yeah, I was really happy seeing the two of them here. And it was just really funny because Roshi, being an ass, but for a good cause. Because causing Yamcha to lose. It's just hilarious. It's just like, you're an ass, but for a good cause. And then Goku's solution, well, I guess we have to keep our flies up. It's like, Goku.
Yeah. I missed that for a split second because, all I saw was Roshi being a dick. But, now that you say it, he wanted to talk to the Emperor and everything, so Roshi made him throw the fight.
Without actually asking him. So, again, being an ass, but for a good cause.
Yeah. At least he didn't get anything broken this time.
Basically, yeah. And So as we mentioned before, the idea, just going through quickly, because again, we've already mentioned this, the idea of, oh no, well, as always, right, in any reality apparently, Bora will die, which is horrible, but in any reality, Bora dies, right?
I mean, it was worse this time, Jesus.
Yes, it was a lot worse this time.
Although, I guess you could argue being impaled with your own spear might have a little more oh, my own spear? But this one was twice the size, too. It was a statue.
Yeah.
Just
and of course,
yeah.
And Tien is evil. By accident, though. Completely by accident. He's evil. And then, okay, so this is where I think the movie kind of went in a direction I didn't enjoy, and not completely, just at least a portion of the movie. A direction I did not enjoy, which was the fact that, okay, I like that Goku was hit so hard he went to Korin's tower and got a speech from Korin. That was fun.
Yeah.
I liked that. However, the problem is that, understandably, Tao Pai Pai goes after him, because it's hey, I know that kid's not dead, and we don't know where the Dragon Ball is.
Right.
So, got to go after that kid, make sure he's dead. But the problem is that by doing this, okay, first off, I love Arrow so much. Arrow Norimaki, love Arrow, love the Arrow cameo. I love Dr. Slump. Haven't finished reading it yet, but I do have all the manga in my possession. Will be finishing that up as soon as I can. Really love Dr. Slump. As many of you may know, it is Akira Toriyama's previous work before Dragon Ball. So it predates Dragon Ball being made in the 80s.
Right.
Which, of course, Dragon Ball was in the 80s too, but still, the first volume of Dr. Slump, just to put it in perspective, 1980.
Shit.
Yeah. So I love Dr. Slump from what I've read, and I would love to read more. But I loved her cameo when I first saw it as a kid, even though I didn't know who she was as a kid. But then I started reading the Dr. Slump volumes in about 2006, because that's around the time they were coming out in America. Right. And I'm reading them, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, I know you. And I knew that, that was a Toriyama work, of course. That's why I picked up Dr. Slump. But all of a sudden, it's just, wait a minute, you're in the show. And, it's a cool thing. But, it really kind of, it's one of those things where I wanted the movie to be expanded, so maybe that would have made more sense. But it felt like they kept everything so kind of close together, and it was good because it was smart. And then all of a sudden, it's great, now we have to run elsewhere.
Yeah, because as they were fighting, because as Goku was fighting Tao Pai Pai, I was like, there's no way this is going to go over well because you didn't beat him without the sacred water. And to get the sacred water, you have to go to oh, hey, look, Korin's tower. Wait, what?
Yes, well, it was interesting. It was interesting to have all that play out. But still, it was, the thing is, I have no problem fighting Tao Pai Pai. I think it's just where it happened was weird.
Yeah. For a split second there, I thought Roshi was going to have to step in and fight him because I'm like, well, there goes Goku. Huh.
Me too. Yeah. It felt like it was going to be I feel the same way too. It felt interesting. And I thought that they were going to go, either that route or they were just going to have Goku appear, as always, mostly in Dragon Ball Z, just to come back and be like, I've become stronger. What ya? What ya.
Or I figured maybe even Tien would step in and say, okay, I've had enough, That
would have been a fun fight.
Yeah, that would have been interesting. Yeah, I would have loved to see Roshi take him out, too, because then it would be like, now we actually get to see Roshi be the badass he is.
Yes, of course. No. But sadly, we didn't get to see that. And, I can't say I didn't like the movie. I enjoyed where it went from here. We're going to be a little brief, but, it wasn't bad. There
are two things I got to say about Aurelie, though.
Oh, please do. Oh, yeah, I don't know if it's Aurelie or Aurelie. I know what her name is spelled as, but the pronunciation always confuses.
I always went with Aurelie, but, I could be wrong, too.
I love that. We both can be wrong. Moving on. Right.
The two things I wanted to say about her was, Goku gets shot with, Dodonpa, and he gets sent, into frickin' Korin's tower, which in this canon we have no idea where the fuck that is.
Right.
And then they land in Penguin Village, and it's like, holy shit. And, he gets the stuffing kicked out of him. Tao Pai Pai gets, pissed. He's like, all right, that's enough, you die too. And he shoots it again at Aurelia, and I'm just like, oh, shit. Even Goku's like, no! And she just gets hit with it and falls over and immediately gets back up, and it's like, huh. And she, pats the dust off, and I'm like, holy shit. I mean, I know, Blue roughed her up the first time they fought, but I'm like, this is a little bit, that's a bit more.
Well, not really, because I don't know if you know her canon. Do you know that she's actually a robot?
Yeah, I know you've talked to me about it before,
okay.
But even still, even for a robot, she took that full force and just nah, I'm cool.
It's true. Well, no, it's true, but it's really funny. I mean, I know I think it's because it's a gag manga, but she has a lot of strength, completely.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, it's it's a superhuman because she's a robot, but no, It's really large. It's such super strength that it's comical, of course, but it really in this case, while still being funny, can come off as badass.
Yeah. Although the other thing I laughed at, I don't know if you caught it, but I thought she said, I mean, I don't know. I don't think she said anything to an effect like this in the anime where she came in, where she had her cameo. But, I think Goku was going for round 2 against Tao Pai Pai, and I believe she says, oh, what a stud. And I was like, excuse me?
That's interesting.
Yeah, I was like, huh. Okay.
Yeah. That was interesting. I can't comment on that. I do not remember that in the anime. It's been so long since we've seen it, so I cannot recall that.
I'm pretty sure she doesn't say anything to that effect. I think they just threw that into the movie for ha-has, but it was like, okay then.
Right? Just, you do that.
Yeah.
But, so moving forward, how did you feel about the ending? Because, I mean, just to go through some details here and there, we're here, right? I mean, how do you feel about the ending? How do you feel about, what happened? I mean, let's talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, I laugh at the fact that, again, no matter what universe they're in, Tao Pai Pai still gets blown up because, he tries to run away and shoots an explosive at them. And then, I guess for the ending, it was funny because, again, this is where the different versions kind of got things a little interesting. The first thing that I saw, I know how it ends, the dragon comes out in the credits and they wish back, Bora, Upa's father, and everything's okay. And I knew they were going to do that. But it was just, in the version I saw, Goku throws the ball into the water. Reflecting on Korin's wisdom of, don't let your anger and distress get in the way. Your mind has to be calm like the water. So Goku has the, miracle idea. Let's toss it in. Everybody's like, no, wait. Well, I mean, we can't bring the 6 back up here, so let's throw the last one down there. Sure enough, Shenron comes out. It's like, I got this, guys. Relax. I know what I'm doing. But I didn't see, the version that I saw first ends with Goku tossing the Dragon Ball into the water and says, Shenron, come out wherever you are. And then it ends. It just goes into the original, the anime ending for Dragon Ball. And
That's hilarious.
But you didn't bring him back yet. I'm like, I know you were about to. I know that's what you were going to do, but you could at least show it on screen.
Yeah,
and then,
that was
I went back
cut.
and saw it, and I'm like, oh, right, it's in the original end credits. I'm like, okay. But it was just so,
it's really...
My jaw fell
funny.
off. My jaw literally fell off.
No, I can get how that's pretty jarring when you're like, it's coming, and it's the smart thing for them to do, and then they just don't do it. And you're like, so, this sucks. Right? I don't know what to say about this. But thankfully, right, proven wrong, okay, it happened.
Yeah.
It happened. And it was nice. It was, of course, an obvious, it was an obvious plot point. But again, sometimes, even if it's obvious, it's not a bad thing because, it would have been shitty if they swerved us. Just swerve, he doesn't come back to life. It's just no, I mean, of course he's going to come back to life. That's what Goku does. It's what they do.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was fun. I'll say that much. It was just a fun movie. I really enjoyed where it went. I enjoyed what it did. And yeah, I mean, before I start doing my whole social media thing, what would you grade this movie? Because honestly, I'm not saying I'd give it a 10, but I definitely give it an 8 or a 9.
Yeah. I'd have to agree. I'd probably give it about a 7 or an 8, but just for the sheer shock value of all the characters coming in and where they came in, and actually, getting past that and seeing, this is actually, pretty well put together. This is pretty well orchestrated. I would definitely give it a 7 or an 8.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going for 8 because usually I go for 7 a lot when I notice, and 7 is my basically I can't give you a failure because of all the good things you did, right? But I also don't want to say that you were outstanding at all,
right?
So I usually will give something like a 7, maybe a 6, but usually like a 7. For this, 8, 8.5, if not a 9, right? If not a 9, 8.5.
I've only given one 10, and if you've seen our other podcasts, you know which one that is.
Speaking of our other podcasts, thank you for that segue. You can get a lot of our You can get a lot of our older podcasts on our Tumblr page, right? Which is thoseguysonthe.radio.tumblr.com. We have a lot of our older shows there. Our shows being WWE Monday Night Raw, WWE pay-per-views. We've done Dragon Ball Z movies. We've done the earlier Dragon Ball movies. We've done Bleach movies. We've also done episodes of television shows. We've done Doctor Who, Supernatural. We've done Gotham, Arrow, Flash, The Following, Walking Dead. We've done Black Dynamite, Steven Universe, Mike Tyson Mysteries, Gravity Falls. We've done Pokemon video games as well, and plenty of other things that I can't think of off the top of my head right now. Now, again, you can go on our website, which is thoseguysonthe.radio.tumblr.com, to see those in the archives, or you can access us through here, blogtalkradio.com/thoseguysonthe radio, but by the way, you can also message us through our website. You can say things like, hey, we would love to, let's say, promote our product or our service with those guys. Or you can say, hey, we would like you guys to do this show. And then if Tristan and I, let's say, have not seen it, we can look into it, or any of the other hosts. We can look into it and we can kind of see the show and podcast about it. We would love to hear what you guys have to say, any suggestions or just any other general feedback, which you can also give us through our Gmail, which is thoseguysonthe.radio@gmail.com. If you want to access any updates to our future shows, again, our website, or our Facebook, which is /ThoseGuysOnTheRadio, our Twitter @ThoseGuysRadio, or our Instagram /ThoseGuysOnTheRadio. Also, older shows have been posted through iTunes. So if you want to go on our iTunes, you can look up Those Guys Radio or Those Guys on the Radio, and you'll see our nice little icon, and you'll find a lot of our, if not all of our older shows through iTunes as well. Also, we're posting our episodes on YouTube. We're constantly updating them. What's our YouTube? Check out our social media pages to find out. We've posted it there. Very long, fun title, right? Lots of numbers and lots of letters. So you can find that through our social media accounts, and definitely check out some of our podcasts on there if video is more of your thing. Not video podcasts, but again, just generally, I consume my content through YouTube. Well, perfect. That's the place for you then, our YouTube channel. And again, we would, also, Satish Ram and I, if you've seen some of the Satish and I podcasts, we make a lot of jokes. One joke we made was David Arquette facts. Right, based on, I don't know if you know this, Tristan, but David Arquette won a major championship once in wrestling, in pro wrestling. It happened. And David Arquette was once married to Courtney Cox, who's Monica on Friends. Yeah. So we made a Twitter called @DAQFacts, which is a completely true, not true, really not true. We really have to state that it's not real. Facts about David Arquette.
Oh, God.
All right, and yes, no, it's true. It's horrifyingly true. And no, it's really fun. It's really, if you're a fan of pro wrestling or just general absurdity, definitely follow DAQ Facts @DAQFACTS. And I think you'll enjoy it. I think you'll have a good time. So we've come to the end of our show, sadly. And would you like to say anything before we go?
No, I think we're good.
All right, cool. So goodbye, everyone. Thank you for listening to Those Guys. Say goodbye, Tristan.
Goodbye, Tristan.